Hi guys, welcome back to S.U.R.E Parenting. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you can tell by the title, this video is talking about some of the unique challenges that you or your kids might be facing right now during this pandemic that has really changed how we do life in the United States and around the world. I know that not all of my viewers are in the United States, and I can't speak to the specifics in every country, but I do know that here in Idaho, all the schools are closed. Where I'm from in Nevada, all the schools are closed. Um, my friends in California have shared the same things. Schools are closed, kids are home. And on one hand, that's wonderful, and we get to keep our babies close, and that can be really reassuring that you have your kids with you close, you can keep them safe. On the other hand, if that's not something you're used to, that can be a little overwhelming. When you have an expectation that your kids are going to go to school every day, and now that expectation has been obliterated and you are forced into something you didn't choose, like homeschooling, it can be overwhelming. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of those things today. Some of the things that I've seen that I love, some of the things I've seen I don't love so much. So we'll dive right in, and we're going to start with that topic I just mentioned, that homeschooling topic. So I have seen so many great supportive ideas out there. People who are providing free resources, art for kids, science for kids, read alouds on Twitter and on Instagram stories. Fantastic things that I've seen. And then I've also seen a lot of criticism and a lot of judgment from homeschool communities, where these aren't real homeschoolers, so let's mock them. I don't know. It's such a strange idea to me that we wouldn't embrace all of these parents who are now having to homeschool when that wasn't their original choice or idea. What I want to do is embrace these parents who have been forced into homeschooling. It is not always easy. Most homeschoolers are honest about that. It's a challenge. Anything that you decide to do is going to have its challenges, its benefits, its downsides. That's just life. So yes, if you have studied homeschooling, you've chosen a philosophy that you're going to follow as a family, you've put in time and effort and research and resources into creating that in your home, then maybe it's not that big of a deal that schools are canceled. If maybe you're a teacher, maybe initially it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal that school is canceled because you're a teacher. I will tell you, teaching your own children, very different than teaching other people's children who have come to school to learn from you as a teacher. Those roles get very meshed, and it gets a little bit dicey some days. And homeschooling can be incredible and wonderful and beautiful. And also, it does not have to be school at home, especially, guys, for these younger kids. Children's main job in early childhood, which is 0 to 8, is playing. If your kids are playing, they are learning. They are learning cause and effect. They are learning compromise. They are learning negotiation. They are learning geometry when they're playing with their magnetiles. They are learning fractions when they're playing with their Legos. They are learning so much every day. The first touch of volume and shape and liquids versus solids comes from kids just playing in water with spoons and bottles and bowls. It doesn't have to look complicated for your kids to be learning. That's something I want to make very clear. When your kids go to school, they've done studies on this, and there's so much in classroom organization and trying to manage behaviors and transitioning from thing to thing and specials and lunch and this and this and this and this and this and announcements, and all of those take up so much time. There's about 2-ish hours of instructional, like actual learning time in a 6-hour school day. So you don't have to do school for 6 hours. Even if you want to cover the same material, you still don't have to do school for 6 hours. And one of the freedoms of homeschooling is that you don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. and start your school day if that doesn't work for you. You don't have to do school on Tuesdays if that doesn't work for you. There is freedom in this. Yes, you may not have come to this by choice, but there is freedom. There are resources that a lot of school districts have put out to families. Feel free to use those. There's things like Khan Academy. If your kid's math, I believe in science as well, is at a level where you're not sure you're teaching it properly or the same way maybe as the school does, then you can use something like Khan Academy, KHAN, and he does videos and he explains it perfectly. Really, really easy to understand, really easy to follow. You guys can watch them together. Great things. Another thing that I really suggest for any family is it's okay to take a couple days off, to take a week off, to take 2 weeks off. Your kids were going to be on spring break anyway. Like, take the time you need. The world is crazy right now. Your kids can feel it. They've never experienced anything like this. If their minds are not feeling safe and secure, they're not going to be able to learn anyway. So it's okay to take that time and to really simmer down before jumping forward. One of the easiest transitions into more of a focused learning pattern is reading. Read aloud to your kids. It actually doesn't really matter what you're reading. Read Harry Potter, read Charlotte's Web, read anything that you enjoy, something you feel nostalgic about. You can read those things and then let that dictate the lessons. We talked about so many character traits when we read Harry Potter. We talked about life and death and good choices and good friendships and why somebody might do something that is mean or feels mean to you and how that might look from their perspective that they wouldn't necessarily think that they were being mean. There's so much nuance and so many complicated emotions at play in literature that you can really learn and discuss and dissect for ages. You can read and then go study something that was in that story. We were reading um, Aesop's fables, and I don't even know if this is an Aesop's fable or if it's just a story, but Moritomo, the Peach Boy, I had never heard of it, but it's in this book. It's like all the things your kindergartner should know or something like that. And it was listed in this book. So we read it. And in that book, it referenced Japan. So then we get to go study Japan, and we get to learn where that is in the world and about the oceans around it and the different continents. And like we've touched on that before, but this gets to bring it to a whole nother level and a whole other level of understanding. And it just expands. Everything can be expanded. So if you just don't have a whole lot in you to really sit down and lesson plan and make a big complex scene of it, that's okay. Read books. You don't have a ton of books. There's 2 apps that I know of, Libby and Overdrive, and they're both free apps where you can go to your local library via app and rent books. If you aren't a great reader, you can listen to books. You can listen to them aloud and study them. The I Survived series for kids is so great, and it has all these historical elements. It's historical fiction. And, my kids are grasping concepts of time and decades and volcanoes and earthquakes. And let's see, we've talked about um, sharks and their natural environment. So then we got to talk about the different kinds of water, whether there's fresh water or salt water, and the in-betweens. And we talked about, the rumors and who believes what and why they might believe somebody and not believe somebody else. And we talked about the 1980 volcanic eruption of Mount St. Helens. And we talked about the different kinds of volcanoes and the lasting effects of natural disasters. And we've talked about bear attacks, we talked about the Revolutionary War, it just goes on. And this is all from one series. And we just push play. I think most of them recorded are like 3 hours. So we maybe are cooking dinner while we're listening to the story. And then from there, that becomes our study. And we keep going from it. We might just go outside and see what birds that we observe. What is that? What did they sound like? Let's look it up. Let's see, are they native to this area? Why do you think that might be? Why are we seeing so many more of XYZ? What's changed in our weather? Everything is a learning opportunity. And if you want to take it easy, just read. Read and let that show you the way to go. Use your actual life to give your kids something to learn. Let them help you cook. Let them help you do laundry. Let them help you come up with ideas for budgeting or planning your meals or anything like that. Like if you're working on their executive functions, by letting them borrow yours and be a part of that process and seeing how that works. And also, maybe that's sort of your time to really take care of yourself. And you feel like you want to just put in your headphones and zone out and do your meal planning, and that's what you want to do. Okay, do that. Explain about self-care. Explain about noise sensitivity. Explain about how when you are feeling stressed, you need to ground yourself so that you can feel better and you can be the happy, calm mommy that everybody wants you to be. Literally everything can be learning. So if you're struggling with that, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk with you, happy to help. You can look up your local district standards online and see if there's gaps that you want to particularly focus on. And if you don't, just read. Just read together as a family. You can hear my kids in the background. I'm not going to pretend that they are not loud and crazy. Being cooped up sucks. They want to go places. The sun is shining. It's been beautiful weather, we can't right now. So it's a little bit extra crazy. That's okay. Understand that the world feels really uncomfortable right now. So this is where we get into the anxiety part of this. So much of what our kids are feeling right now has to do with how we're feeling. They soak it up like a sponge. They can feel when the adults around them are feeling unsure. And this is an unsure time. And if you are super calm and confident and have no worries, sweet. I'm glad that you have that peace. I know for a lot of families that's not the case. And that's okay too. It's okay to honestly say, you know what, I'm feeling a little anxious right now, but I'll be okay. Make sure that it is not your child's responsibility to manage your emotions. Be honest that you have emotions. Be honest that you have needs that you have to meet, such as having some time to be calm and quiet by yourself, such as needing to journal or needing to read your own book to feel just soothed. Doing yoga, doing qigong, cosmic kids yoga on YouTube is a great resource. Just turning on music and dancing or singing. I love to sing. It changes my whole physiology. It makes me relax. It releases so much. And my kids know that, and they know how music can change the energy in our home. So we do that a lot. Doing sensory play with your kids can help you too to release some of that tension. Going out barefoot on the grass and grounding. Obviously, if you're in Colorado, getting an inch of snow every hour, which my friend texted me this morning, that's not an option. But you can just, close your eyes and visualize grounding into the earth and visualize you reaching up to your higher power and pulling down that calm energy and use those tools, even if you feel weird, even if you've never done it before, it certainly can't hurt. You've got lots of time on your hands. Give it a try. Journaling is one of my favorite tools. I've done a whole video on Black journaling, those yucky feelings out, but really analyze what is mine and what isn't. What part of this is my feelings and what part of it have I basically caught from everybody else's panic? And it's okay to release that back to them. It's not yours. You don't have to hold it. You can let that go. Focus on what you're concerned about, what you're going to do about it. Write it out. If you aren't really sure, write a sentence about how you feel and then write the word why. And then answer that question and then write why. And then answer that question and go down about 7 levels to really dig in. And it feels so much better to just get that stuff out. Once you feel clear and you feel at peace, then your kids will pick up on that as well. And you can teach them these strategies too. They might not be able to really journal, but they can do art. They can take a piece of paper and scribble out their feelings. They can paint their feelings. They can dance their feelings. The whole point of art is expression, right? I prefer photography and writing. It's more of a structured kind of expression, but not everybody does, and that's okay. I invite you to try something to get some of this anxiety out of you. Um, and invite your littles to do it too. If you are feeling extra frustrated with your kids, remember that they don't know what's going on. They don't understand this. It's hard for us as adults to be on our best behavior right now. It's exponentially harder for these little people. They are doing the best they can, and so are you. So give yourself a little credit. You're doing very good. It's just a hard time. And this too shall pass. It will. It might take a while. It might pass like a kidney stone, but it will pass. Okay? The last thing that I wanted to leave you with is Mr. Rogers' quote. I don't have the whole thing memorized, but he told a story about how his mother, when bad things would happen and the family would be sitting and watching the news, she said to him, "There's always helpers. When you see these terrible things, look for the helpers." And that warmed my heart. And so I've been focusing every day on finding the helpers, because there is plenty of ugly, there is plenty of negative. You can find that for sure. It's a little harder, but you can find the helpers. When the WHO said that you shouldn't give ibuprofen to kids who get COVID-19, I was really worried because I only have ibuprofen. Tylenol's never done anything for our family. We don't use it. It doesn't really seem to have any effect at all, so I just don't buy it. And the idea of some of my kids with 105 fever and nothing to be able to help them, it made me very worried. And so I posted in a local group asking, has anybody seen Tylenol? Because all the shelves are empty in every store that I had been to. And nobody had, but I got 2 messages. One from a good friend who had ordered a 2-pack online and offered me one, and one from a neighbor who I don't know that well, but who messaged me and said, "I saw your post. I have an unopened bottle that I'm willing to give to you." And maybe that doesn't seem like a big thing, but for a mom who's afraid that she won't be able to help her kids, it's everything to know that we can come together as a community and we can support each other. And it makes me feel emotional because there is still goodness in all of the chaos and all of the hard things and all of the bad things that are happening right now. There is still goodness. I watched a transaction happen where this woman was living with an elderly couple, and she works with the public. Her son is in daycare, and because of that, they chose to not let them live there anymore. And overnight, she had no home. She had nowhere to go, and she was panicked. She didn't know what to do for her little son. And a stranger offered her their RV. They had used it to do homeschooling around the country. They'd lived in it before. It was fully functional, and she offered it free of charge, just out of love. "You can stay here while you need to until this whole thing blows over." Like, that kind of love and goodness is out there. And I want to share that. I want to spread that. I want to make sure that those things are getting attention too. Because that's how we come out of these hard, dark times, is we find those positives and we cling to them. We use them as fuel and we use them as a shield. And when we are feeling overwhelmed, we find something to be grateful for. We find those gratitudes. We find a way to just hold on close to the people that matter the most to us. And something like this, anytime there's a tragedy, anytime there is a big widespread struggle, it really does remind us what to be grateful for. If you find that social media is really bringing you down, take it off your phone. You do not have to be there. I know it feels like it, but you don't. Do what you need to do to protect your heart, to protect your mind, to stay focused on your families. Use this time for good and look for the helpers. Good luck. If you need help, please reach out. All the links are below. I'm happy to help. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.